Bob Wankel's with us on the Friday as we look at the weekend. As always, the little Phils, they pick up the opening day win, and they did it in a fashion that I'm not sure they would have been able to do last season. We'll get into that and more with Bob Wankel from Crossing Broad. We'll do this all season long on the Fridays and Mondays. They look back at the weekend. The Phillies are off tonight, as they typically are. They do opening day, then they take that day off. But, Bob, they won the game yesterday in a way that they probably wouldn't have won last year because their bullpen came in and shut things down, and they got some help from the leather in the field. I thought that was a kind of under-talked-about thing yesterday, the way the Phillies got some help from Bohm. D.D. made a tremendous play at short in the ninth, and then Quinn throwing out a runner at the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. There were not too many games last year where you could depend on the bullpen to give you 10 outs late in the game, keep the offense afloat. Offense was really struggling yesterday, especially with runners in scoring position. But Archie Bradley, Hector Neris, Jose Alvarado, and Connor Brogdon did a really nice job there, gave him a chance, and, they were able to come up with a win at the end of the game. You talked about the defense, and wouldn't get too used to the Phillies relying on defense to key wins, but yesterday, for one day, it was very nice.
Yeah, you mentioned the bullpen, and, it's only the first day. I'm wondering if you got any glimpse into what he sees this bullpen, because I've been kind of saying in the spring, I love the kid Brogdon, and to me, he has like the closer potential. He's that young guy with the fastball that maybe if somebody falters, don't be surprised. But he went to him in the biggest spot in that 10th inning with that runner on second base to face the heart of their order. So I kind of thought that told me a lot about what they thought of Brogdon and when they went to him.
Yeah, actually, I think if Hector Neris struggles, they won't do this right away. But if this becomes an issue in the closing situation, in closing spots, I could see eventually them actually giving the ball to Connor Brogdon in the ninth inning once you get to the midseason point. I think there's that much upside there, and I think the organization thinks that highly of him. The thing that's intriguing is not only does he go to him in a tie game with the runner on second in the 10th, but he goes to him to face Freddie Freeman. And, part of that is that he had burned through some other options. But when they talked about going into the season with just Jose Alvarado from the left side, reasons that they were comfortable with it because a lot of their relievers really strong reverse splits against left-handed batters, and Connor Brogdon really stand out. Small sample last year, he was excellent against lefties. You go back to 2019 across three different levels in the minor leagues. Excellent, actually better against lefties than he was against righties. Gets Freddie Freeman to roll over, ground out, and sets up the play for him and Quinn, a batter later. And, great job by him.
Yeah, and Girardi said after the words, we saw his confidence kind of take off last year, and, that's why I brought him in there. I thought last year, late in the season, he was excellent, and he carried that over into game one. You mentioned, I think on Monday, about Alvarado. He's going to be a roller coaster, so you get the erratic version of him and the strikeout power arm, three straight Ks. I don't think it was three in a row, but he struck out the side. Get used to that, Phillies fans.
Yeah, I said that. I did say that on Monday. I didn't know that we would get the full experience in the first game. I mean, I think he threw his first 5 pitches out of the zone. He does end up striking out the side. We were about 2 inches away from a bases clearing double that the wind pushed foul down in the right field corner. I mean, it was the full Jose Alvarado experience. But at the end of the day, when he had to make the pitches, he did. And, when you're consistently doing it at 99 miles an hour, you see the upside there. And so he's going to be a go-to guy late in games, and I think that he's a momentum player. If they can get him off to a hot start and he really starts quickly, puts together some scoreless appearances in April, and kind of rebuilds that broken confidence and that broken player that Tampa Bay saw in 2020, Phillies could really have something here.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's his story? He had lost some weight, I guess, from coming over, but what's his story? Like, because Tampa doesn't give up guys.
Yeah, I mean, he was grossly out of shape. He was really having a difficult time locating a variety of his pitches. He had talked about in the offseason that the COVID setup and being away from home and playing under those circumstances kind of took a toll on him. Yeah, I mean, this is a rare case where Tampa Bay took a very high upside, high ceiling guy and said, we could probably do without him. And certainly the Rays have one of the better bullpens in baseball, so they're a little bit better prepared to deal with losing a guy with that type of ceiling. But this might have actually been one of the rare low buys that pans out for this organization we've really seen over the last handful of years.
All right, Bob, how do you read into Nola's start yesterday? Are you the guy that says, man, he went into the 7th, he threw one bad pitch, or do you the guy that says, that's why he's not looked at as the guy on that other level? And by the way, he got helped out by the wind a few times. he got helped out by his defense too. So what'd you think of Nola's start yesterday?
Yeah, he did. There's a couple different ways you can look at it. He also pitched out of a jam in the sixth innings, in the sixth inning because Rhys Hoskins butchered a routine ground ball to first.
Oh,
he
that was
bared
horrible.
down and did it.
That was horrible.
And that's no good. But I look at it, and I guess the thing for me is if you want to say that Aaron Nola is not a true ace, okay. And I think that you can make that argument and point to how he sort of faltered down the stretch, especially during the month of September over the last couple of seasons. I have no issue with Aaron Nola going 6 2/3 innings, giving up 2 earned runs on opening day when it was 37 degrees out and sports writers in the press box couldn't even type on their keyboards because their hands were so cold. I can't kill Aaron Nola for one mistake in that point in the game. For me, Aaron Nola is a great pitcher, but you're not really going to be able to change the narrative about Aaron Nola until you get to September. He's going to be good this season. His numbers, he's going to have a sub-3 ERA. He's going to be one of the 7 or 8 best starting pitchers in the National League. Yesterday's game for me doesn't change the story on Aaron Nola. The story gets changed once you get to the month of September. I think it's unfair to say that the guy made a mistake late in the game and that's why he's not an 8. But that being said, I think it's fair to be critical of him. He's got to be better down the stretch when they get there.
Well, let me ask you. I said they walked DD, right? They pitched to Segura. Would you have walked Segura to pitch to Quinn? You load the bases.
As long as you trust, your reliever's command in that situation, and at that point in the game, you have somebody in there that you obviously have some confidence in. So, I think that's a really interesting point. I don't think it's egregious to have gone after Gene Segura in that spot. Like Brian Snitker is one of the best managers in baseball. I think strategically it made some sense. It didn't work out. But putting Segura on to get to Quinn, a guy who we saw in his one at bat yesterday, just doesn't make contact. And we've talked about this numerous times in my appearances on this show. What holds him back from being an adequate everyday player is that he simply doesn't put the ball in play enough. And I probably would have taken my chances with a guy that's less inclined to give you a quality at bat in that spot.
Yeah, I when they walked DD, I said, "Oh, they gotta walk Segura. You got Quinn on deck. This is the move right here." And Snitker doesn't do it, and Segura took that. And those are the kind of things that could really if you have that early season signature thing, can kind of springboard you into having successful moments throughout the year. And, Segura's a guy who's hit 7th in your lineup. That's what I saw. They didn't hit well with runners in scoring position, but they do have a deep lineup. They got the big hit there. Speaking of Quinn, I would imagine he's going to have to play at least the next 3-4 days, right?
Yeah, it doesn't sound like Adam Hazley's injury is overly serious, but we haven't really heard a lot. Joe Girardi seemed to sort of downplay it yesterday, but you don't know what that's going to look like, 36 hours later when we get a little bit of news on it. So, expect Roman Quinn at least on Saturday and Sunday here to wrap up the series with the Braves. And you talked about the Phillies struggling to hit with runners in scoring position yesterday. They finished the game 3 for 14, but if you're looking for a bright spot, because the offense yesterday was fairly dismal, and I don't want to hear about the wind. Obviously it was a factor. Bryce Harper hit a ball that probably gets out on most days. But here's the upside of the Phillies offense. Max Fried, excellent starting pitcher, 7-0 a year ago, sub-3 ERA. He had thrown 80 pitches after 4 innings.
Yeah.
The Phillies really grinded through bats and had that pitch count, I believe, actually threw up into the 70s at one point with 2 outs in the 3rd inning. They really made him work. And I think in this division with so many good starting pitchers, right, the ability to consistently shorten those starts and burn pitchers out, that's a key thing for this lineup to be able to do.
I'm glad you brought that up. I thought when I was watching that yesterday, I was like, this is like Joe Girardi, Yankees teams there. They just worked pitchers, worked counts, worked, got into your bullpens. That to me, the fact that they had Fried at such a high pitch count in the 4th inning, was a very good sign. We'll see if they can continue that patience here. But the one guy I thought, I liked his first at bat was Hoskins. He kept the hands back. Last year he hits that ball into the dugout. He keeps the hands back, but he looked pretty lost the rest of the way. And I'm thinking, oh man, what guy are you getting here? But they liked him in the 2-hole. We were wondering, are they going to put him in the 2-hole? That's where he started. I guess they're gonna try that out.
I would imagine you're going to see that at least in the early part of the season. The whole philosophy behind that is that Andrew McCutchen is the closest thing that you have to a prototypical leadoff man.
Does he like hitting leadoff?
What's that?
Does McCutchen like hitting leadoff, or is he like a team guy?
No, I think if he were to go down to the 2 spot or the 5 or 6, I don't think he'd hate it, but I think he embraces the hitting leadoff. The idea, though, with Rhys Hoskins is that even when he's not putting the ball in play consistently or squaring balls up, that he still has the ability to work walks and get on base. And, this new wave, this new thinking of baseball, it's less about being a guy that can hit behind a runner on a hit and run, and it's more about just getting on base and being a table setter. And that's the one thing that Rhys Hoskins can do. I did see some concerning swings out of him yesterday. Yeah. I thought that he was jumping out of pitches, trying to do too much at certain times. And it's really important for that guy to get off to a fast start. It's cliche to say that, like, oh, yeah, you want to get some momentum early, see if you can carry it. But Rhys Hoskins has shown us over the years here that he is such a momentum-driven player. When things are going well, he's awesome. When things aren't going so well, he can be brutal. And so I think it's really important that he starts fast.
Bob Wankel covers the Phillies crossing Broad. You were there yesterday. You were there last year, most of the season. Tell us the difference in that stadium. Just had even 9,000, a little less, but about 9,000 people there. It felt like the players definitively could tell the difference.
Good story about this. I was sitting in front of Ruben Amaro Jr. yesterday, and I was talking to another reporter that was next to me, and I said, I know it's not a packed house, but I said, this is probably what it looked like a lot in 2014, And Ruben Amaro is over my shoulder, and he goes, yo. I said, all right, maybe like 2017. So, Ruben got me on that one. Yeah, man, I got to say, like, there was some juice there yesterday. There was some noise, considering the amount of fans. It didn't look packed, but it certainly sounded pretty lively in there. And there was a point when Jose Alvarado came in, and I think he threw his 5th consecutive ball to start I guess that was the 8th inning. Somebody yelled at home plate Bill Miller that his wife didn't love him, and you could hear it loud and clear. So fans were fired up yesterday, and it makes such a difference. Last year, it felt like you were just watching practices, and yesterday felt like a Major League Baseball game again.
I know Nola, who doesn't say much. He's not very animated. He was like, it was different. Like, you could tell. Yeah. And even Girardi was very it was great to have. Like, everybody says, it's great having them back. It felt definitely like a little bit different. So that was good to see. Bob Wankel crossing Broad. All right, Phillies this weekend, of course. They got a little and we only got about 30 seconds here, but they're going to have to face the Mets top of the rotation now. So they got kind of screwed on this whole situation with the Nationals.
They sure did. They're going to see, I would assume, Jacob deGrom on Monday. And so get your wins this weekend. You have Charlie Morton tomorrow, who's a good pitcher, but a guy that's certainly hittable, had a +4 ERA last year. And I believe you get Ian Anderson and Zach Eflin on Sunday. Phillies have to win this series here, considering what they're going to see against the Mets early this week.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the Nationals-Mets, the entire series has been canceled, which means the Mets opening day will be Monday, which means their opening day starter is also the 2-time Cy Young reigning champion, Jacob deGrom. He's Bob Wankel. He'll be back on Monday, and, of course, we'll talk more Phillies throughout the season. At Bob Wankel CB. Check out all his Phillies coverage at crossingbroad.com. All right, Bob, I'll talk to you soon, man.
Talk to you soon, man.